I have the great honor and pleasure to be with Alvyn today. Thank you so much for making the time to join us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I have to say, I loved your TEDx talk, and I would love for you to introduce yourself and share some of your perspective and thoughts with the global community.
Sure, thanks. Sina, so do I call you Sai or Sina?
Sai is perfect. Thank you so much, Alvyn.
Thank you. Thank you for this chance to share some thoughts on it. I'm Alvyn. I'm a researcher working on psychoanalysis, education, Malaysian politics. I'm a trainer by profession. That's my day job. I think like many within the science community, we read Nassim Taleb's Antifragile a couple of years ago. I think it's almost 7 or 8 years ago. We were really inspired by it, and the area that really resonated with me was Asian students, especially upper primary to upper secondary school, because one huge area of concern, and I'll just have to, and I know that many Asian parents hearing this would not agree, but one huge area of concern is the relatively high suicide and depression rate in ASEAN region, ASEAN Southeast Asia, especially what is called the Confucian heritage culture, so Chinese, Thai, Korean, Japanese, that area. I'll talk about how Malays deal with their depression later on. That's something that someone else told me, but so the focus here would be on students of a Chinese Confucian heritage culture and how education is a it's a status thing. Okay, millions of Chinese kids, they're brought up, the parents, the teachers, their peers push them to succeed, and by success we're talking straight A's. Okay, if you've met the average Asian student, you know that getting 1 A and 9 C's is not enough. That's failure, man. Asian students, we want to succeed by getting 9 straight A's or 10 straight A's, and I know it because I grew up in this this culture. Now, but think about just think about how just think about the pressure. Think about the chronicity. Day in, day out, month in, month out, exam from exam, year in, year out, and semester after semester. You have this pressure to succeed, to excel, not only excel in one topic, you have to excel in across the board. But it's an analogy I like to use. Imagine how statistically realistic is it to have millions of students being straight A students? It's just statistically it's impossible. It's like what I said at the TEDx talk was that, can you have 1 million Ronaldos? There's no way you can do it. It's impossible, So if with that kind of expectations, and with the culture being so pressured, it's absolutely not surprising that you get depression. Children hate to learn. And unfortunately, you get a lot of suicide. So a friend in Hong Kong was telling me that her condominium built nets around buildings. I mean, you can't make that up.
Yeah.
They built nets around the building because they knew people were just jumping off. And we have elevator conversations, among each other. But one of the elevator conversations that they have is, "Oh, did anyone die this week?"
Wow.
That's the thing they had. It's insane. So, so the message, from an anti-fragility perspective that I would like to share, and I shared that in TED Talk, and I just want to repeat this to parents who are listening, maybe not just Asian parents, but basically any parent who, really pressures the kid to succeed is, remember that chronic pressure over time breeds fragile psyches. Our children will break if we don't. I think like Taleb said, if you keep, you can't cheat time. Eventually it will break. in the context of COVID-19, it's almost like a guy who doesn't wear a mask, doesn't do anything, and just walks in a crowd day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
One day, you may be negative for days and weeks, but one day you are going to get it if you keep doing that, right? It's chronic, and it's a very high. It's what's the word that high impact, irreversible. Okay. So the first thing about the parents, let's be wary of the high impact, irreversible scenarios we are putting our children through. So assume you don't go that way. What can you do now? The barbell strategy is something that I've never heard extrapolated in Asian training. Do American companies talk about that, Sai? The barbell strategy?
It's definitely in the vernacular of, and so of course you and I know it was very much described in Antifragile, and Skin in the Game. It was even more emphasized as really survival, right?
That's
surviving
right.
between if you will, excessive risk taking and survival versus ruin, if you will, that distinction.
That's right. Yeah. But the amazing thing about a barbell strategy, and I think a lot of people still don't get it, is a combination of hyper conservatism with hyper risk taking. It's avoiding the middle, right? Because the middle is where it's a very funny analogy. What Taleb was saying. You see, when you go for dinner, you have the steak and the foie gras and the apple pie. Yep. You never mix it together. So you have to have the two together, right? So the approach that I'm promoting for students would be go for the barbell. So what that means is that for the subjects that really stresses you out, it's causing you depression, it's totally killing you, right? I mean, almost literally, just go for a pass. So that's hyper conservatism. Go for a pass because you still need to get the subject through. Go for a pass. Do the minimal necessary. What Elon Musk was doing, when back when he was where was he? South Africa, right?
Yep.
Saying if he just didn't like the subject, he tried to like it, didn't like it. He said, okay, fine. I have to get through this, so I'll just pass it and then move on. But, and here's the cool part, for the subjects that you're really good at, so for Musk, it was computer science, it was maths and that kind of, he became the best in the world. And so what you have is, so imagine you have 8 subjects, 5 or 6, it's just a struggle. So keep to a bare minimum. Don't disappoint your parents, pass the subject. For the 2 or 3, go way up, be higher than your peers, be the top. And so that's convex, and convexity is also one of the things that Taleb talks about, which is a non-math mind like me, I can't really grab it. So what I understand it to be is that convexity is you put so little effort and your results are like that, right?
Yep.
Compared to the concave, which is so much effort, so the results.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's and I think if more students did that, their learning life would be a joy, right?
Yeah.
They would excel, they would succeed, they would get through, and you do away with that really foolish rat race of, oh, I've got 8 A's, you've got 7 A's, I'm better than you, and all that, Yeah. So that's.
Alvin, I really appreciate the way that you're describing it, because really, the impact is going to continue for generations. If we have nets around buildings, I mean, it's mind blowing, quite honestly. Yeah. So if I can ask you, kind of, how for the students that you're working with and your message going out, if you will, into the community, how is it impacting the student population? And likewise, are you seeing a difference in the student population, and how are you seeing it really perpetuate into the workplace as well, Alvin? Because these good people, of course, ultimately end up in the workplace, and that mindset continues.
That's right. Okay. Well, I've got a bit of bad news here. Well, the thing is, I've mostly spoken to college students and to adults in training workshops. So it's more, I mean, I think 80% of my time has been spent speaking to parents. Long and short of it, it's not very well received. Especially in my culture, many parents still believe that the way forward is, excellence defined as in the traditional way. You need to excel in everything. And it's just fair enough. I didn't expect to change things within 2 years or so. However, sad thing, I haven't been giving this talk too many of sufficiently. I think I've probably given like half a dozen times. I've spoken at colleges, I've spoken at universities, I do it at training workshops. I've written tons on it. But I think there's still this cultural mindset. It's like with COVID-19, right? It's almost like saying, hey, people are walking out and they're okay, so why should I change? It's the hidden risks versus hidden thing, right? Because you don't see the problem until someone jumps out the building. So it's not going to happen. But to your other question on how it goes to the workplace, I think I cannot see clear results. And as I was saying, the term antifragility, even in Asia, let alone Malaysia, it's so rare. People still don't know what it means. So it's gonna take a while to get the parlance in. In Southeast Asia, terms like proactivity, terms like what's that, integration, those terms are in. But that's Stephen Covey. That's 30 years ago, and it's what's that, Peter Drucker, and yeah. So the time lag, to be safe, I would imagine Malaysians need at least 10 years before you can say anti-fragile and people know, okay, that's what you mean. Now if I use that term, people will know what I'm talking about. So a long way to go, man.
Definitely. Well, in many ways, you're a pioneer, my friend, in kind of helping shift the mindset across the board. And Alvin, if there's one thing that you would suggest that parents really embrace, kind of one real practical sort of piece of advice, hey, I really need you to kind of internalize and manifest this, what would that be, my good friend?
Well, okay, maybe two. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
2 points for parents. First thing is, I know it sounds very, love your kid and get your kid to love what he learns. That's the first point. I mean, it's not, I should not be pressuring my kid to do something that I love. I must love my kid, and my love for him expresses itself in me letting him do what he loves. I mean, that's really the first thing. And as per Talib's lessons, if we can avoid ruin, what's the Yiddish proverb? He said, "Take care of the worst, so take care of itself." I mean, that's what I say. If we just bear in mind that our children are at high risk of depression, and so ease up on the pressure. But we encourage them, right? We encourage them. And if a kid loves science, we just, oh, you want science? Come on, we'll go for an exhibition, get you whatever books you want. And, we just help the kid survive, literally, right? Survive and enjoy his time at school. And then, you let natural processes take over. Once he finds his love of learning, you can't stop him. So
Very well said.
Yes, man.
Very well said. My friend, you have an inspirational message, and definitively, I really love your passion for the human spirit, especially in our young generation. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the time, Alvin, and let's definitely stay in contact as the journey continues, my good friend.
Absolutely, Sai. Okay, I look forward to speaking to you again, Sai.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.